So, can animals talk? No, they cannot. Yes, they can. Well, sort of. It depends. As a kid, most of us were pretty sure animals talked. If my dog seemed to understand me when I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk, then surely she must be able to verbally respond, right? Well, maybe not. Animals definitely communicate, but in a way we're just beginning to understand. And it turns out the definition of talking is trickier than you might think. At its most basic, talking seems pretty straightforward. It's how we humans convey messages with words that have specific meanings and follow a particular structure. You may think that since we can understand what animals are saying, they must be talking to us, but that may not necessarily be the case. Some scientists define talking as any kind of behavior that conveys information between individuals of the same species. By that definition, honeybees talk. When they find a good source of pollen, they return to the hive and perform a little dance to tell their nest mates where the best flowers are located. The direction and duration of the waggle dance tells other bees which way to fly and how far the lines need to travel to find the flowers. That's a very literal interpretation of talking. But if we want to get a bit pickier, we can look at the types of signals animals use to communicate. Talking to us or to each other, it's fair to say that all animals communicate through some combination of sounds, body language, chemicals, or by using unique identifiers such as visual markings, scents, or vocalizations. Many animals use more than one method to communicate. For example, ants talk using pheromones, which are chemical identifiers. They also have specific smells that help them recognize members of their colony. Chemicals, in fact, are a primary way that ants communicate. When food is scarce, foraging ants will lay down a scent trail leading away from the nest. Other ants following the trail can judge how desirable the food source is by the concentration of the scent. The higher the concentration, the better the food. In times of plenty, the ants will deposit pheromones on the trail back to the nest, telling their nest mates that there's plenty of food to go around. So the foraging ants don't bother bringing more food back. When it comes to communicating with us, animals have developed ways to cater to our tendencies to anthropomorphize them. When dogs want something from their owners, they often bring a toy or ball to their feet and look them in the eye, then bark once or twice. Depending on the situation, the owner interprets this as the dog wanting to play and agrees, usually with a smile, a pat, and a verbal cue like "good boy." Similarly, you have probably noticed that your cat rubs against your legs and headbutts you when it's dinner time. But these are not exactly sophisticated forms of talking. They're forms of begging, and animals begging is not the same as animals talking. Now let us take a closer look at some of the animals that are often said to talk to us and see how well they really stack up. First, let's turn to our closest relatives, the great apes, specifically gorillas and bonobos. In 1980, a researcher named Alan Gardner began teaching American Sign Language to a female gorilla named Coco. After years of work, Coco had learned around 1,000 signs and could use them to communicate with humans. She was interviewed on television several times and famously responded to a reporter's question about what it's like being a gorilla by signing "gorilla, strong, clever." Like John Wayne, bonobos have also shown they can learn to communicate in English. A bonobo named Kanzi lives at the Chimp Foundation in Atlanta, where he lives with 8 other bonobos. According to the foundation, Kanzi understands thousands of spoken English commands and can ask for specific foods and toys by name. He can even put together two requests. For example, if he wants juice and a cookie, he'll first ask for the juice and after receiving it, ask for the cookie. This kind of communication isn't exactly small talk, but it does show a kind of generative syntax. Next, let's meet Alex, an African gray parrot who passed away in 2007. Alex was taught to speak in much the same way that children are taught to speak. Through repetition, he learned to associate words with meaning. Alex learned to answer questions about color, shape, and numbers, but he also picked up more abstract concepts like the idea of zero. One time he was shown a blue square and then researchers removed the square to reveal nothing was there. They then asked him what color the shape was and Alex replied none. He was also asked what shape was missing and Alex answered none. So Alex could use the concept of nothing to answer questions about both color and shape. That's pretty impressive. But many scientists argue that parrots don't truly generate novel sentences in their heads. Instead, they parrot what they've heard before. Essentially, they memorize common phrases and responses. Then, when prompted with certain questions, they give the expected answers. Perhaps the animal that most closely resembles human language ability is the dolphin. Male dolphins have unique whistles that serve as names. When a male splits from his pod as an adolescent to join another one, he changes his whistle to prevent confusion with the other males in his birth pod. Females also learn to call their offspring by their name, allowing the mother to summon her calf or scold it into submission. Even so, despite the similarities, dolphins don't talk like us. A team of researchers led by Shane Ross of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland attempted to teach 5 captive dolphins a set of symbols, each representing a different object or action. The dolphins were to arrange the symbols on a board in the order that they wanted to request. In the study published in the journal PLOS ONE, the dolphins learned to combine symbols to convey more complicated requests. For example, the researchers reported that one dolphin named A2I used the symbol for apple to signal for the keeper to move a bucket under the symbol for water. Once the bucket was in place, the dolphin would then press the symbol for water to get water in the bucket. The researchers suggested that this demonstrates that dolphins can communicate about abstract objects and actions, but they still lack hierarchical syntax. As we continue studying animals that seem to come close to talking, the bar keeps getting raised. But ultimately, we haven't found any other animals that display the complexity of human language. As we refine our definitions of talking, the list of animals that can do it gets shorter. So what makes human language unique? Part of the reason why human language is so hard to pin down is that it has multiple aspects to it. A lot of scientific debate centers around 3 specific qualities. The first is what linguists call generativity. We can create an infinite number of new sentences and ideas using a finite set of words and rules. You could describe your childhood home in dozens of different ways, and no matter how creative you get, you'd still be using the same words and sentence structure you learned as a kid. Generativity is what enables a child who knows 300 words to describe an entire universe filled with unicorns playing baseball. Because language is generative, it allows us to communicate new ideas that have never before been expressed. That's a big part of what makes human language so powerful. It's difficult to imagine any animal using sound or sign or gestures to do the same. Human language is also hierarchical. Our language has complex grammatical structures that allow us to express incredibly abstract and detailed thoughts. Consider the sentence, "She gave the book to him, now make it more complicated." She gave the book to him because he promised to take care of it. It now has embedded clauses and multiple motivations, but it still makes sense. Such complexity is what allows us to explain why cats purr or to theorize that Earth is round. Finally, human language allows us to talk about things that aren't physically present, like past events, future plans, or even imaginary monsters. It's called displacement, and it's another quality that sets us apart from the animals around us. We love talking about animals, but as we've seen, whether or not they can talk is complicated. The truth is that animals do communicate in sophisticated ways, but the exact nature of those communications isn't always clear. Even as we try to pin down the nuances of talking, the line between communication and language remains frustratingly blurry. So what do you think? Can animals talk? Share your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe for more fun science videos.